The astrology for May is pretty chill. There's no inner planet retrogrades, there's no tense transits, but Saturn moves into a new sign, which is a big deal. But girl, we've had so many of those this year that we're pretty used to it. Honestly, May is a pretty chill month. I'm looking forward to it. Famous last words. Welcome back to the Hella Fluid Collective podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I love all things astrology and small business. This is your month ahead forecast for the month of May 2025. If you don't want to wait for this to come out on your platforms and you want to get this directly delivered to your inbox, then come sign up for my newsletter. It'll be fun. We can hang out. You can be the first to know of any new things I release, maybe some worksheets that I'm working on. I didn't say nothing. Come join. And if you like the astrology that I have to offer, then I do personalized readings as well. I do predictive astrology readings for you and your personal birth chart. So it's basically what I do here, except it's how these planets above are connecting with your birth chart. So for example, if Saturn is sitting on top of one of your planets or forming a square to one of the planet placements in your chart, that's going to bring up some things, okay? And it's kind of nice to have a little bit of foresight so we stop playing the blame game with ourselves and instead we can lean into the energy that this cycle is bringing us. It allows us to name it for what it is and be a bit more present. All right, let's go ahead and dive right into the astrology for May. On May 4th, we have Pluto stationing retrograde. Now, I know I said there's no planets retrograding. I said there's no inner planets retrograding, okay? Pluto is way out there. All those outer planets retrograde once every single year, and honestly, for a good chunk of the year. So it's not really that big of a deal. And Pluto retrogrades for 6 months every year. So literally half of our lives, Pluto is retrograding. Not that big of a deal. What it is a time to reflect on all the big transformations that we've gone through in the past 6 months and turn them inward and look at what we can do personally to play a part in continuing them or starting new ones once it goes direct again. Now, that's not to say we can't be going through any transformations while it's retrograde. It just means it's more so focusing on how we're doing so internally. And then when it's direct, we take what we've learned from inside and apply it more with other people out in the world, in our jobs, whatever it is, more externally. Obviously, whatever we're transforming on an inner level is going to impact the outer levels as well too. It's just what we're focusing on. Pluto also rules our subconscious. So if you want to look at rejigging, rewiring some of that, takes a while. 6 months is a great time to start doing that. So while it was direct, this last cycle that it's been direct, the beginning of that cycle, because it went direct in October, it was finishing its movement through Capricorn. And Capricorn is really about the institutions, the structures that hold up society. So we can think about how those things have changed and how we're now moving into more of honoring the individual. What transformations have we seen in that vein? As for business owners, this is a really good energy to reflect on the changes that you've had in your business and relating it back to that Capricorn stuff of have you started to make any changes, whether intentionally or not, that have relinquished you from having to do things a certain way because that's the way business is run. I've been talking about this a lot in the past few months, but again, that's the beauty with small business is you have a lot more room to play. And I think that your personality shows up a lot in your business. So it's nice to let go of those holds we have from society and from the structures of Business 101. Obviously, this is true in branding, but I think this also applies to your approach as well. Like if social media really isn't your game, that's fine. I know everyone says you have to be on social media, but if it drains your energy and frustrates the hell out of you, that's something to listen to. Either find a new way that you enjoy to show up on social media or do something else where you can connect with other people. Maybe you like networking on a different website that's more professionally based. I'm not talking about LinkedIn. I'm really talking about like Alignable. Alignable is great. It's a place where you can connect with other business owners. It's a fun space. Or maybe you just want to do in-person events, or maybe you want to start a podcast, anything like that that feels more aligned with the way that you want to show up. Next up is May 10th, and that's Mercury moving into the sign of Taurus. It will be here until May 25th. This brings a dose of steadiness, materialism, luxury, senses into the way that we're communicating, thinking, and the way that we learn and process things. We may find that we're thinking and talking about money and financial stability a little bit more. Maybe prioritizing things that bring us stability or tangible results. Taurus loves that. Let's see what's working and stick with it. It can bring a more grounded approach to thinking, especially after it being in Aries, which is a bit more impulsive. This can help us steady in that fast-paced, fiery thinking we may have been feeling for the previous few weeks. I will say this can lean towards more stubborn thinking or stubborn opinions, so it can be really hard to try and change someone's mind during this time, which, maybe isn't the best approach anyways, trying to change people's minds and instead focusing on exempling what you want to showcase. That doesn't always apply, but sometimes it does. It's a great time to learn how to cook, how to make art, especially something like with your hands, ceramics. I don't know what art you make without your hands, but something that is very sensual, gardening, basically anything that combines your mind with your senses, learning. As for business owners, I would use these next few weeks to slow down your decision making. Aries had us acting fast, which is great. Sometimes we need to just do it in order to get the ball rolling, but now it's time to just scale it back a little bit and be a bit more consistent. It's a good time to figure out what worked in the past month or two and put a little bit more energy into doing that. Mercury rules marketing, so it's a good time to be a bit more consistent with your marketing as well. If you've been switching up what you're doing a lot and saying this doesn't work, Mercury in Taurus is a good season to just stick with something for these 3 weeks and really get some good data before you make a decision. Next up is May 12th, and we have a full moon in Scorpio. All right, this one is going to be intense for a few reasons. Number one, Scorpio in itself always brings the intensity. It doesn't care for small talk. It's all about going deep and getting down to the real stuff. And the full moon is all about letting go, as a full moon always is. So this is our annual reminder to let go of things related to control, power, manipulation, things that we're keeping hidden that maybe we don't need to keep hidden anymore. Shadow work is a good time for letting go of things in our shadow work journey. And it also rules obsession. So this moon is forming a loose opposition to Uranus. And what this is going to do, most likely, is going to bring in some frustrating, unexpected situations or sudden changes. Now, this is going to feel icky, but it lays the groundwork for reflecting on how can we let go of control. All right, this full moon is asking us to look at our relationship with control. These sudden changes can come in and help us test how much control do we really actually need. And when things don't go the way we expected, we'll find that, hey, we could actually figure it out without needing to know everything beforehand. Says someone with major control issues. Okay, I'm just saying this stuff. I ain't living it all the time. Now, in addition, Mercury is forming a square, a conversation of tension with Pluto. Oh, hello, another planet of intensity. In modern astrology, Pluto rules Scorpio, all right? So we got a double intense Scorpio-Pluto energy happening with this moon. And the Mercury square Pluto aspect is almost exact at the same time of the exactitude of this full moon. Okay? Lots of intensity. But intensity isn't always bad, okay? They help us go deeper. They help us feel deeper, especially with a full moon. They help us understand deeper. I can't think of another word than deeper right now, so we're just gonna keep saying deeper. Now, Mercury rules our mind. So together, all of this together, it could bring obsessive thoughts, which isn't fun. But now that you know this, now you can be more present and try to catch those obsessive thoughts and use them as clues to be like, okay, why am I going over this thought again and again and again? And ask, is it because I don't feel like I have control over the situation, so I'm going over the situation a million times in my head to try and figure it all out before it happens? Yes, that's something I do. So just an offering of reflections that might be useful for this full moon. Where can I let go of control? What do I obsessively think about too much that drives me nuts? What relationships am I in where the power dynamic is off balance? Because Pluto rules power dynamics. What concepts or ideas am I giving too much of my power to? And what is getting in the way of my continuous transformation? And I say the word continuous because I like to believe we are always evolving, or at least that's kind of the goal. Maybe a lot of people aren't, but if you're willing and you're catching on to the lessons that life is throwing your way, then yeah, we're always here to change. Again, I'm a Scorpio rising, so that is just my approach to life in general. And Pluto's in my first house. Changing all the time. As for business owners, how can you reclaim your power in your business? I feel like there's a lot of things as business owners we think we should do because it's the right way of doing business. And this full moon is offering you a chance to let go of something just a little bit. I know we're all tied for money and doing things for a profit so that we can pay our bills. But as small business owners, like I mentioned before, there's some wiggle room there. There's ways for you to figure it out yourself and show up in the way that makes sense for you, not what you think you're supposed to do. Again, I talk about this a lot because it's something I'm really passionate about, is helping people find out what their own flow is in their business. So also, if you need someone by your side to help you with that, hello, I'm right here. I have been working next to small business owners for over 10 years now, maybe 11. And I'm just here to be your right side as you're making transitions, as you're making changes, as you're finding your creative flow. I'm the one who's going to keep you organized and consistent while you do that. Anyways, didn't mean to go down that line, but here we go. Coming back to business owners, if that sounds overwhelming, just start with one little strategy and see how you can change it a little bit. See how you can manipulate it a little bit. Pluto and Scorpio are about manipulation, usually in like a power grabby way, but you can use it for your benefit. Next up is May 17th, and we have the sun forming a conjunction with Uranus. Now, this makes sense because previously in the full moon, which is when the moon is opposite to the sun, we had this opposition going. So it's actually on this day where the sun is conjunct Uranus. So again, it wasn't exact during the time of the full moon, but I think it's so important to bring in, especially with all the control things going on. Coming back to the sun conjunct Uranus, this can be known as the most surprising day of the year. Because when we have the sun forming a conjunction with any planet, it takes the qualities of that planet and shines so much light on it and brings so much life force to those qualities. Uranus is all about unexpectedness, sudden changes, surprises. So expect a lot of unexpectedness. With a conjunction, it can go either way. It's not naturally a conversation of tension. It's not naturally a conversation of support. It's just a day where this is very highlighted. If you want it to be more beneficial for you, then plan for flexibility. Don't be so rigid on this day. That's not what Uranus is about. Uranus is about freedom, independence, liberation. It doesn't want to be confined to your schedule. And that's okay, because when we get stuck in the same routine, it doesn't allow us to grow. And when we get put in a new situation, we say, I didn't realize I could do that. And that's how we grow. Now, the sun also rules your identity, who you are, your sense of purpose. So this day is really about experiencing yourself in new ways so that you can see different sides of who you really are and what you can handle. It could be scary, but it's really a beautiful thing. Now, I will say this is a new beginning. Whenever we have two planets forming a conjunction, it's a new beginning to a cycle. So the sun goes through all the same spots every year. So this is a new annual beginning of this cycle of Uranus. So I will say anything that you avoid in terms of things that are related to your freedom, your independence, your uniqueness, any way that you hide who you truly are, that could come up in a much more intense way in a few months when the sun forms a square to Uranus. That's how this astrology game works, right? Conjunct is a brand new cycle. We get a sextile, which is more supportive. Ooh, okay, let's take those changes. The square comes up as like, you weren't paying attention. Here's the lesson. We get a trine, these more supportive transits that come and help you grow. And then they get tested again at the opposition. Where could you bring in more balance? And then they have more support again. And then they form a conjunction and we start a new cycle with some new lessons all in the same area. Does that make sense? I may have gone out of order with those, but you get what I'm trying to say. It's this back and forth dance of let's learn, let's grow, okay, let's test. Let's learn, let's grow, okay, let's test. I will say Uranus rules our nervous system, so that's going to be super activated on and around this day as well. So if you're someone who's sensitive, I get it, who isn't in this day and age, really do some extra work this day so that we can ground ourselves, ground our nervous system. Don't skip your meditation. If you don't meditate regularly, maybe just try it for like a minute, 3 minutes. Go out in nature. My friend Raquel just taught a seminar on how much nature like really, really calms your nervous system. Like really just like even just looking at a picture of nature can like calm you down. So take that extra minute to look at a picture of nature. If you can't get outside, go outside, just breathe in the leaves, like tell the trees you love them. They will send you some love back. As for business owners, this could be a good time to look at your branding because the sun represents your identity. And so if there's anything that you've been holding back from, like, ooh, I really feel this way, I want to say this in my messaging, but I don't know how it's going to be received, this would be a good day to try it out. Maybe it's just a post on social media that you could delete later if you didn't like the way it felt, but this could be a good day to try it, try something new, and see how it feels in a non-committal, non-consequential way. Just trust the unconventional patterns. Next up on May 18th, we have Jupiter forming a sextile to Chiron. This is a conversation of harmony. These two are working well together to bring to you growth through healing our wounds. Jupiter transits are always pretty joyful, even the squares. But this one obviously is going to bring some joy, some growth, some generosity into our wounds. Jupiter is all about expansiveness. And so it's about taking what we've learned from our trauma and adding them to who we are to become a bigger person. They don't define us as we hear, but they can help us become a different version of ourselves. A stronger version. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. I'm sorry. So I do want to say last year, and it was like a 6-month journey, we had Jupiter and Chiron forming a square with each other. And again, like I said, Jupiter squares aren't that bad, but we could have felt a little tension between our desires to grow and expand our perspectives being pulled back by some wounds that we had or some issues with being vulnerable. So that lasted like 6 months. This sextile is here to bring in some support for any issues that may have come up around that. I do want to say with sextiles, we normally have to put in the effort or go seeking for this support because it's really easy to just kick back and do nothing because nothing's wrong. But we have another square dance coming up later this year. I believe it's in October, and it lasts until June or July of 2026. So, like I was mentioning before, we really want to go out there and kind of address what is holding us back in terms of growth, because it could really come back with a little bit of an issue later this year. Just a little one, again, is Jupiter. I'm not that worried. And I just want to remind you, me, us, that the reason we may not want to expand or go that step is because it didn't feel safe to at one point. And so that's honorable that you are keeping yourself safe. But if we can get intentional and be like, you know what, I actually am safe if I just dip my little toes over here. Or let me just try it for a little bit and show myself that I can be safe. That's what this energy is about. Let's say you have a fear of socializing in certain situations. It's scary. I get it. Maybe just make a really low-key promise to yourself, okay, I'm going to go for 30 minutes. I'm going to bring something to do, a little craft so that I can keep busy if I'm feeling really anxious. And, you might find that you actually feel somewhat safe. Or, that's kind of a situation that could go any way, depending on who, what, where. But, just try a few things and figure out how you can create or get yourself into a situation where you feel a little bit better. As for business owners, take these hardships that you've had, whether in your business or personally, and use them as teachable moments. Because I feel like vulnerability is something that allows us to really connect with one another. So whether you're doing this with your teammates, your audience, whatever it may be, use it as a moment to be like, you know what? Here's this hardship. I overcame this hardship, and it can really inspire others to do the same. And at the same time, there's some sort of like empowerment that comes when we own this and can then help other people through the same situation. That's the thing about Chiron. Wherever it lands in your chart, yes, it reflects wounds, especially wounds that kind of keep coming back. But because we've been working on it throughout our whole life, we become experts in that area as well too, because we've had to give it a lot of attention. So use that expertise to help other people and to empower yourself. Next up on May 20th, we have the sun moving into Gemini. Gemini season, I love Gemini. I feel like Geminis get a really bad reputation. I feel like you just don't understand them. They're fun, they're curious, they're playful. And so when the sun is in Gemini, we all get a little dose of those things as well too. You may find that you are ready to multitask, you are ready to go, you are ready to do a lot of things at once, which could feel a little chaotic to some or feel at home to others. This will be a fun time to get curious about different ways of expressing yourself. Maybe you want to try on some new clothes. Maybe you want to talk a different way. Maybe you want to hold yourself a different way. Maybe you just want to get a new phone case. I don't know. You could just try different things, see how it feels. Gemini likes that. You also may feel more inclined to socialize during this time. So say yes to invitations. Not only are you going to be more social, but other people are going to be more social. Events just could have a bit more of a kick to them. They could be really fun. Maybe you want to try a new class. We love that. Learning, curiosity, yes. A social class where you can meet other people. Yes. Just watch for any restlessness or getting overwhelmed with how many options you have, which is not a bad problem to have. As for business owners, this is an energy all about creating content. Gemini is about communication and how we convey our message. People are ready to learn. People are curious. They're ready to dive deep into what you have to offer. So it's a great time to release some educational pieces. Whether you're launching a new course or maybe just a series on TikTok or Instagram, something that keeps people coming back because they're ready for it. Okay, next one is big. On May 24th, we get Saturn moving into the sign of Aries. Now, granted, Saturn moves signs about every 2 years or so it's not that big of a deal, but it is. So it's been in Pisces. And let me just say, Saturn naturally does not like being in Pisces. Saturn rules discipline, boundaries, limitations, restrictions, learning life lessons the hard way, structure, and control. And Pisces is literally like the opposite. It's like boundless, going with the flow, trying a little bit of this, trying a little bit of that, being in a different realm. Saturn is about reality, right here, right now, what's in front of our face. So Saturn was rather uncomfortable here, so I'm kind of okay with it moving into a new sign. It was limited, and I felt like it also brought a lot of like big daddy energy into my emotions, which I like them to be soft and gushy and not needing to reform what's going on in my emotional state. But I mean, I guess that's good. I actually made some big progress with in my therapy. Anyways, Aries, on the other hand, rules independence, the self, leadership, entrepreneurship, new cycles, starting new things, directness. It'll be a shift from the fog into the fire. Now, I will say Saturn is just here for a few months. It moves back into Pisces in September during its retrograde, but then in February, it will be in Aries for good for about 2 years. So September 4th is when it goes back into Pisces, and it will finish its little round of Pisces and bringing structure to the invisible things. Like, for example, actually, it brought a lot of responsibility to invisible diseases like chronic illness, mental health, long COVID. That is something that we understand now, and there's like a lot more help for that from institutions, from the government. It's recognized, it's a real thing. With this shift, it's also going to go more from the collective to the individual, which can go a lot of ways. I think wherever Saturn goes, it demands for accountability. And so there was a lot of demand of accountability with the collective. And so now it's moving into, okay, this is what we want for the collective. This is how we want things to change. But are we as individuals actually willing to do the hard stuff to get those changes? Are we willing to give up some of our comforts in order to make things better for the collective? Saturn in Aries is very, no one is coming to save you, so we best get to doing it ourselves energy. It's the rise of self-reliance. And when I mean the self, and this is me anyways, I don't mean we each individually need to do it ourselves, but it's a little bit of the separation from relying so heavily on institutions and corporations. Maybe. I do feel like this is fabulous energy for entrepreneurs because Aries rules entrepreneurship, so this could bring a lot of responsibility and structure into that. Maybe there's more support for small business owners. Maybe we just feel like we're ready to get rolling on starting a business if that's something that you've been wanting to do, or getting more serious about your business if it's a side hustle, or just more serious about your business even if it's your main gig. We are ready to get more disciplined. And like I mentioned, Saturn demands accountability. And Aries is about our leadership. I would love for us to see more accountability with our leadership. I'm optimistic, probably overly optimistic, but it could be a start of what that looks like. Saturn in Aries is really about consequences for our actions. My best advice is to meet hardships head on. In Pisces, it's really easy to feel like escaping and just turning our head and making it want to go away. But with Aries, it's direct. Let's just face it head on, get this over with. As for business owners, use these next few months to take some strategic risks. This is a great combination of Saturn and Aries because Saturn is very strategic. Aries is about taking risks and doing things and figuring it out later. So putting the two together, let's try it out a little bit and then we can see what works. Use the courage that Aries brings and channel it into your gameplay. It's also a good time to invest in enhancing your leadership skills. So maybe you're taking a class, maybe you're just diving into YouTube, reading a book, whatever it may be. There's lots of ways that you can run your business as a leader or even just be a leader in your industry. And there's lots of changes coming into our leadership with a lot more planets moving into Aries. We got Neptune that moved into Aries as well. So it's a fresh energy for leadership. So now would be a good time to look at other options or look at what other things are out there. Next up, on May 25th, we have Mercury moving into the sign of Gemini, where it will be until June 8th. Yes, I love this because Mercury rules Gemini, so it's very comfortable here. They can do its thing here. I will say, get ready for fast-paced thoughts. Gemini loves to constantly move and jump tasks. It's a mutable sign. It's a mutable air sign, okay? So we're jumping around. We are, going from plan to plan to action to action. I'm going to do this now. I'm going to start this now. If you don't have ADHD, you might feel like you do. If you do have ADHD, like your girl, buckle up. I will say, though, that Mercury is energized by this. So it may feel energizing to kind of jump around and go with the flow. So don't restrict yourself if it's feeling energizing to you. But if it's feeling overwhelming, then let's create a little bit of structure so that we can actually get a few things done that we really need to get done. Gemini is here to let us follow the curiosity as much as we can. So don't deny her that. Gemini also rules duality, so it will be easier for us to see things from both sides, to understand that two opposing things can be true at the same time. You can really want to be with your family and miss them, and also as soon as you sit down with them, be really annoyed with them and want to leave. Both of those things can be true at the same time. You can love them and be annoyed with them. I would definitely say expect folks to be a lot more chatty. Maybe you're a lot more chatty. Gemini is pretty witty as well too. So you may be cracking jokes. You may be funny. We all may be funny. We all may be laughing around the campfire. I don't know why the campfire just came up. As for business owners, this is a wonderful time to collaborate. Whether you are going live with somebody, maybe you are getting your audience more involved, especially in the way that you are going into different marketing strategies. Do some polls. Ask them to comment below what their favorite content is. Directly message people and see what they're interested in, especially people that are like your go-to trusted clients or customers. Get some customer feedback. Take a more social approach to your marketing. And I don't just mean social media. You can do this via email, get some coffee with somebody, whatever it is. Really tap into communicating with others to see what direction to go in next. Next up is May 26th, and we have a new moon in Gemini. So we got lots of Gemini energy, as we do with Gemini season. And the new moon in Gemini is our annual reminder to start fresh in terms of the way we're communicating and how we learn things, how we get curious about things, how we share ideas. Again, this is going to bring another energy of restlessness, wanting to move fast, wanting to start new things. If you can, allow that to happen. Maybe you're starting a few intentions at once, and that's okay. With Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini next month, which is a big deal, we're going to get a lot of change, a lot of fresh energy coming into the way we communicate and the way we learn. So this new moon is a good time to start really reflecting on that and starting new cycles about what you want to do differently in those arenas. It's a great time to set intentions around the way we're communicating with others. That's a big one. There are 3 supportive transits that happen with this new moon, so it's not as intense as the full moon we just had, which is nice. First, we have the moon itself forming a loose trine to Pluto, which brings some welcome transformation and helps us dig deep into the way we're thinking and how those thoughts impact the way we're feeling. This moon is also a few degrees away from Mercury, which is shining in its sign. So that really just brings even more of our mind into this. It's really just going to strengthen our mental energy around all these intentions that we're setting. I will say watch out for overanalyzing your emotions though. Lastly, it forms a loose sextile to Saturn, which can help bring some stability into these new cycles that we're starting. Yes, these are all wonderful. As for business owners, it is a great time to rework your messaging or your branding. I feel like I've said that a few times this month. So now that we've kind of asked our audience what they want to see, what they want to do, how you can show up better, now is a good time to actually start those new things. Maybe you're working on your branding, maybe you're working on your mission statement, your website copy, or, your elevator pitch if you have one of those. This is the energy that will help you create something that really sticks. The last transit that I'm going to talk about on this forecast is May 29th, and that is the Sun forming a conjunction to Mercury. Yay! This is a huge day of mental boost, mental clarity, mental power. And of course, because it's in Gemini, Mercury already has that. So this is just like the day to figure it out, the day to communicate. If you are giving a speech, if you're teaching something, if you got the mic, you're going to really be saying things clearly. You're going to be communicating well. It's going to be received well. If you have some things that you need to work out that have a lot of details, you need to get really logical about it. We can power through it with this energy. If you don't have anything to put this energy into, I would focus on doing a brain dump, getting everything in your head out so you can see what's been floating around up there and see what you can work with next. The mind will be a wide open faucet. As for business owners, I realize I just said it above, but this is a great energy for educating other people. So whether you're doing a talk or maybe you want to go live on Instagram, maybe you want to record a YouTube video, anything where it can be you presenting and showcasing your knowledge, this will be a really great energy for that. You'll be spot on. I do want to say that it's very easy to kind of get lost in your ideas, and not necessarily lost in your ideas, but like go off on a tangent and kind of just be going. So if there are specific things that you want to make sure you cover, maybe have a little outline or something, a timer or something that can keep you on track. All right, my beautiful people, that's it for the month of May. It's pretty fun, right? I'm excited. There's really not that many harsh transits that are happening, actually. We have Mercury square to Pluto, we have Mercury square to Mars, which aren't fun, but they don't last that long. And we have Mercury conjunct Uranus and Mercury conjunct Chiron, which aren't that bad either. I mean, they may feel a little icky, but, they're all short. All the tense ones are short. If you want more information on those, then make sure you do sign up for my newsletter, because that's where you'll get the link to my blog where I go into every single transit that's happening throughout the month and give you a little sentence to kind of give you the energy for what's going on. If I went over every single transit in this forecast, it would be hours long, and nobody wants that. And on top of that, I do my weekly forecast where I do go over every single transit that's happening, so you can hear it once it's a little closer to when it's happening. And then on my Instagram, I also have my cute little graphics so that you can follow along every day that it's happening. I do that on TikTok as well too. So I got lots of astrology information for you while it's happening, okay? All right, my beautiful people, I hope the month of May treats you well. And just remember, because there's no tense transits doesn't mean nothing intense is going to happen to you, because you really got to look at what's happening in your chart. You probably are having some tense transits in your chart. So you can find information in the description and links to personalized readings so that we can work on this together. All right, beautiful people, have a lovely week. And until next time, stay hella fluid.